Welcome back to Crypto Spaces, back with another Monad update for you guys. That one person in my comment section was right. You know, they called for a retest of the 1 cent low, and I didn't believe it. I didn't think we'd go that low. But here we are, man. We're dropping. In my opinion, like I said, guys, this is why I say dollar cost average in, right? Because think about all the people that bought at 3 cent, right? Especially if they overexpose themselves. Now they're going to be emotional. They're going to be almost down 50% on what they bought. And they're going to think to themselves, oh, it's going to zero. I got to panic sell. It's going to zero. I got to panic sell. This is why you always dollar cost average, especially when it comes to altcoins, right? When you're looking at meme coins, it's way more high risk, right? When you have fundamental altcoins like a Monad, for example, you could be patient. You could be extremely patient. You don't have to rush. When it comes to meme coins, etc., especially on Solana, I could see why you would, toss in some money, get out quickly, etc. When it comes to altcoins like this, it's a high time frame, long-term investment. It's not just, the run-of-the-mill gambling. It is still a gamble. It is still a risk, but it's not the same higher, risk, gambling that you see on chain, right? So right now, Monad is on a dip. It looks like we're going to retest that 1 cent low. Like, people were speculating. Someone in my comment section, some of the TA I showed you guys, it looks like that's going to be the case. What do you do in this situation as a strategic investor? What do you do, okay? If you bought at 3 cent, I suggest you hold. I don't think you panic sell. If you're going to, if you're going to be like, well, I'm on edge, I'm emotional, I'm losing my money. If you're going to, take your money out, maybe you cut for a loss. You take 50% out and leave in the 50%, right? And see what happens to that 50%. If you've never bought, now is a good time to buy. If you've been dollar cost averaging in, now is a great time to buy. For example, if you had $2,000, you started to buy at 2.5, 2.4, 2.3 cent. You had $2,000, you were buying every few days. Now is a great time to buy. You're new to Monad, now is a great time to buy, right? If you bought higher, now is a good time to DCA, right? So this is how I see it. I think, dollar cost average, especially on altcoins, works, right? Good altcoins, new altcoins, great technology, evolved altcoins, right? Because Monad is going to be like, for example, you see how like, in the past we had MySpace, then we went to Facebook, then we went to Instagram, then we went to TikTok. Monad is in its TikTok phase, one of the newer L1 platforms, L1, L1 companies, technologies, and it trumps a lot of the old L1s of the past, the Cardanos, the Avalanches, etc. It trumps all of them because it's built to scale from the get-go, 10,000 TPS, etc., right? And, the only other project that is, as far as retail friendly when it comes to the tech side is Solana, right? That's the only other one. So like someone in my comments said, they think it's going to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Monad. And I wouldn't put it past them because, again, 10,000 transactions per second. If your chain is not living up to the scalability of a Solana, I don't think it's gonna be here for the long term, right? It has to start scaling to the level that Solana is at, right? I just saw someone from the Solana Foundation saying, Solana was achieving around 10,000 TPS, right? Recently, with you see that drawdown that we had on Sunday, January 2026, right? Sunday, what day was that? What day was Sunday? The 18th? Yeah, the 18th of January 2026. You saw that drawdown that we had. In that time, Solana was processing up to almost around 10,000 TPS, right? So the only competitor that we have to Solana with that type of scalability in this market right now, it's not Cardano, it's not Avalanche, it's not Sui, it's not Say, it's only Monad, right? So I still think this project is going to be a winner. I don't care if the prices are low. So as we see from Divergent, this is one of the TA persons on X. I was just scrolling through the Monad ticker, the Mon ticker, seeing what the people on X were thinking about Monad, and it looks like Divergent on his TA will be accurate here, where we have a pullback for Monad, potentially down to that previous low of 1 cent. And then it's going to be crucial if we bounce from that low, right? It's going to be crucial we bounce from that low, or if we break that low, we continue going lower, right? I would hope for a bounce off the low. Hope is not a strategy, but we have to play it as it is, guys. Hope is not a strategy, but we have to play it as it is, right? So if it goes down to that 17 cent mark, that would be the last level of support that Monad has to bounce from. It has to bounce from there, right? If it doesn't, we're gonna break that 17 cent low and potentially go down to 1 cent per monad. So pay attention, and it's up to you to decide what you're gonna do, right? If you're gonna cut your bags for a loss and maybe just leave a percentage in, right, instead of having your 100% allocation. If you're gonna cut some of your bags for a loss and then just leave in the rest and be like, okay, that's an amount I'm willing to lose, it's up to you. If you're just gonna hold all the way through, this is why I say never invest more than you're willing to lose, right? That way you're not gonna be emotional, right? So the amount that I tell you guys to invest in is an amount that you're willing to lose, right? That way, even if it does drop to 1 cent, it's an amount that you're willing to lose. So you're gonna hold it either way, right? You already had in mind, I'm willing to lose this. And this is why I tell people don't overexpose themselves, because you're gonna be emotional, right? There's people with millions of monad right now thinking it's going to zero, and they might start panic selling their bags, right? Whereas someone who just has a tiny bit of exposure recently, like I said, 50,000 to 100,000, they're thinking, man, I don't have enough exposure. Maybe I should start adding here, right? All psychological, guys. Extremely psychological when it comes to crypto. So it's up to you. We're all adults here. What you're gonna do? I think holding Monad for the long term is a great bet to make. And I'm not gonna go against my thesis, my idea, my plan for this project. So as always, none of this is financial advice. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank y'all so much for all the support. Truly appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one.